What's up, everybody? This is Zach with the Nerd Cave, and I'm joined along with
Derek.
Derek. We've got an awesome show full
Yes, we do.
of great topics, full of stories that are going to harrow, going to keep your suspense just on end. I don't know what suspense is, but it's going to keep it on end. Maybe your hair on end. But that's what the show is all about, guys. We come to you live each and every week. Sometimes Wednesday, sometimes Thursday, sometimes even a Friday, but we try to keep
whenever
it at
our
2
schedule
p.m.
dictates.
Yes. So we come to you live. We chill with you. We hang out. We talk about all the gaming news that you need to know. And if you miss us live, you can check us out over on youtube.com/nerdcavenetwork. And we put out little clips every day on TikTok and YouTube Shorts, so you can check out the news that you might have missed while we were live. And toss us a follow over on our Twitch account if you're watching this on YouTube. So Derek, let's get into it. We're gonna get into it, man.
Yep.
Avengers.
Yep.
Symbol. Because they're increasing the XP grind and gets rid of random cosmetic drops. Will happen with the next gen release on March the 18th, which is about 6 days from now. It is 6 days from now. Not about, but it's 6 days from now.
Yeah, exactly. And the only assembling we're going to do is to boycott the game after this decision. I said it when I posted the article. This is so tone deaf. I understand COVID was a thing. It hampered a lot of their roadmap, but who thought this was a good idea? Because I've been having inklings to boot up Avengers again, right? For a while. And then they made the announcements like, hey, March 18th is the PS5 version. I'm like, okay, I'll just wait to download it. And now it's and then finish my grind out for leveling up Iron Man or whatever character I think it's Iron Man. That's my highest level character. But then I see this and it's like, what's the point? The only thing that'll follow it up that'll make it worse is if they make microtransactions where you can get XP boosts.
I could totally see that happening. I know
it's Square Enix.
Yeah, you're already suffering from people not wanting to play your game. People mass exodus after the first month, not even the first month being done with the game,
right.
And people just leave. And now it's okay, your game is suffering. You're trying to get people on it. You're trying to dole out little DLC here and there to, bring people back in. But then it's oh, we're going to make this even more difficult for you to enjoy. That doesn't make any sense to me.
And see, I think it was the next day or 2 days after they posted this, right? They said, oh, for the PS5 and Series X version, they'll do you can do a campaign replay. Now I forgot to check to see if the replay will include it's sort of like that if it's a new game plus type scenario where all the stuff you have unlocked will carry over to your replay of the story, or you have to start fresh. Not entirely sure on that one. But they have the campaign replay, and I'm like, that's almost more enticing than playing at my current state if I have to for the grind I have to do.
Yeah, at least you're getting a story and not just doing the boring missions that they've put in there.
My gosh,
it's the same rooms from the campaign.
Yeah, and I know they're also going to bring customizable harm rooms as well, but at the same time, you're trying to fluff up, put lipstick on this pig that is the XP grind, and the random cosmetic drops, whatever, it's a loot game. You're gonna have to deal with that type of thing anyway. But the XP grind, that's what turned a lot of players off to Destiny. Was the grind in the first game was so asinine and excessive that it turned a lot of people away, me included. And then when they did their first drop, it got the player base back into it because you could naturally progress and level up like God intended it. But hopefully they fix this and rectify this down the road. I don't think it'll be one of those oh, sorry guys, we're just going to snap our fingers and change this right away. It's going to take time. So hopefully they rectify this.
Yeah, I agree. I think they'll see a player drop even with, launching on the next gen and all of that. You're going to see the people that have grinded stop. It might be a trickle down effect where, less and less, and then they're oh, we've got to get them back. So I'm Square Enix definitely needs to be smarter about it. Speaking of
Yep.
Square Enix. Square Enix presents digital showcase announced for next week, March 18th at 12 p.m. Central. Will offer updates on Outriders, Tomb Raider, Life is Strange, Avengers, and Balan.
Balan Wonderworld and Just Cause Mobile.
Okay, I wanted to make it fancy. Balan.
Okay.
Sounds way fancier.
It would make the game sound a whole lot better because I've read and seen previews that people hate this game. But yeah. So it's funny that it coincides with this, right? It's almost like another like washing of this is like, hey, this bad thing for Avengers is coming up, but here we got other stuff down the pipeline that you can care about. It's like distraction, and it's all ironic on the same day, right? So Outriders, it makes sense because there's a demo going on right now, and for those who don't know, the demo is going to be up till the game comes out on April 1st. And I know it only lets you play a certain part of the game, but all your progress that you do and all the stuff you unlock carries over to the full game when it releases. And that's their most imminent game. I know the upgrade for Avengers to next gen is their more imminent one, but this is technically their next big game coming out, and they have to. It's weird that they're doing this at such a random time, right? Because it's like, I know we talked about last week that E3's, going to go in a different direction. It seems like they're going to continue what they did last year with having just, instead of having everything conglomerate into one big event, they're just going to do piecemeal and just have it. It's like, all right, in 2 days we're having this drop. In a week we're having this drop. So I've also heard rumors for the Tomb Raider thing that it leaked last week that they're going to bundle the recent trilogy, like Tomb Raider, Rise of the Tomb Raider, Shadow of the Tomb Raider, in one bundle. And at first I read it, what it said was, oh, it could be releasing March 18th. I'm like, they're not just going to shadow drop this like with such little notice. But now it makes sense. It's like they're going to probably reveal this on March 18th and then give a date. I assume it's going to have all the DLC. It's going to be interesting, right? Because Rise of the Tomb Raider had a weird release, if you remember, because they had that weird year of exclusivity on Xbox. And then when it came to PS4, it came out the same time that PSVR did and had some VR specific missions. So I wonder if they're going to throw those in with the PS4 version.
I think that would be awesome to see, that they would just be part of it. And I think, if they do a bundle, like, and make it where it's, cross-gen, like where, you can get it on the new consoles and everything and the power of those consoles, I think it'd be awesome. I never played Shadow of the Tomb Raider. I know
me either.
A lot of people, it kind of flew under the radar for a lot of people. It
didn't
really do that.
It was like Syndicate to me. Like Syndicate was like a really great game. It just, because people were fatigued or other things came out around the time, people just didn't give it the attention. And that's what, you're right, Shadow of the Tomb Raider, because so many other things were releasing around when it dropped that people just kind of forgot about it.
Yeah, and like I enjoyed the first in the Tomb Raider series, that the new one. I thought it was a really, really solid game. Rise is the second, right?
Yes.
Rise, I played a little bit of it, but I never finished it. It was very in depth. Both of them were very in depth that I played, but it was even more so. So I'm curious to see where they can continue to go. I don't know if Shadow wraps the whole thing up, because again, didn't play it. But like them, I think it's a good idea of them like putting it out there so people can check it out that haven't played any of them. If they're just getting new consoles, they can check it out there and everything. I probably, since Outriders is coming out in April, I would say you might see this like in June or July, just to be able to hit the next
summer feels right for it, just because they could space it out, because I feel like they have something else coming out. Maybe not Square Enix, but I guess it all depends on when Life is Strange 3 comes out too, right? Because I know you'll be excited for that, to see what they finally show. Because we talked about the supposed rumor last week, so hopefully we'll see if that's going to be true or not next week. My thing with the Tomb Raider is, to go back to your question about, I haven't played through Shadow either, but what they talked about around like the marketing around the release is this wraps up this first part of the new Laura Croft story. So, or they something to that extent, right? So they made it seem like when Kingdom Hearts 3 dropped, everyone was like, all right, this wraps up part 1 of Kingdom Hearts story, like overarching story, and people are like, oh, there's going to be more. They kind of hinted at like this iteration of Lara Croft is not done. Like just because Shadow dropped doesn't mean we're through with her story yet.
Yeah. Well, with Kingdom Hearts, who knows?
I know. Do you expect a new Tomb Raider to get, like, if they announce this trilogy, do you expect them to tease the next Tomb Raider?
Possibly. It could be just like, and Laura's journey is not done yet. We're currently working on the next entry in the franchise and maybe a name. I don't think we get any gameplay. I think they save that because like that would one up Outriders, and that's the thing that they're going to be pushing because it's coming out literally next month. And I think they just kind of say, hey, we're working on a new Tomb Raider. When we have more, we'll show you, but we just wanted it to be on your radar because like if they did drop it, it would outshadow the rest of these games because the rest of them they've either been out, they're unknown, or they're a mobile game. So, it would be the bigger of the titles and everything. But I am really excited about Outriders. I want to try the beta and just see what it is about. And I like that that it's going to transfer over. Just to catch up with our chat real quick, Murdoch said the first 2 new ones in the Tomb Raiders were good. Yeah, 100% agree. I loved them. They got to finish the second one.
I know. And I was going to say too, with going with that too, with Avengers, I hope they continue down the roadmap because from their original plot hole or from the original like timeline was Spider-Man for PlayStation owners was supposed to drop in spring. Well, we're a few weeks out from spring. And we haven't heard mum about it. They're now just dropping the Hawkeye stuff. Haven't dropped any raid information. Haven't dropped any of the other stuff that was supposed to have been out already. I wonder if this is just gonna be like, hey, next gen is available now, and then they cut to other things, or if they're actually gonna touch on, because I've heard because other stuff that was down the pipeline before Spider-Man has been rearranged, and now they still want to hit that spring date for Spider-Man. So I want to see if they're gonna talk any more about post-launch stuff for Avengers, or they're just gonna be like, and now you can get it on PS5 and Series X. Goodbye.
They need to address like the elephant in the room. Like, you promise something, you have to deliver it. If not, guess what? That's false marketing.
Yeah, exactly.
False advertisement, and you can get in trouble with that. Not many game companies do get in trouble with it, but like, you've promised a character to a certain group of people, and a lot of people were like, "Why does the PlayStation get Spider-Man or whatever?" It's Sony, but I think Avengers, like for them to like be able to make another one or have DLC for this or have people, even an audience that are remotely interested in it,
just to keep this game going in general.
Yeah, it's like you've got to walk very carefully right now because if you don't, you will end up like Anthem, where no one wants to play you, and you're going to lose money. So that's where they're at right now, and they've got to be very, very careful of what they do moving forward. For sure. Speaking of moving forward, Division 2 is adding a new mode in 2021 that is entirely new to the series. I haven't played Division 2, but I do want to get in it and try it. I've got it on, I think, both consoles, but I do want to try it.
Yeah, so I have it on Xbox, so I haven't touched it in a while, so I've been having an inkling to go back to that as well. I need to go back and finish the first Division game, at least the story, but Division 2 they improved on so many things that the first one did better, that it kept me going and kept me, coming back for like a month straight to play that game. But I read the article that this was posted about, and it didn't hint at anything. They basically said it's mum's the word. So the first thing that came to mind with a new event, because we read it a few weeks ago that Division 2 is going to have content planned for this year and next year, to keep with that, because I know that they're doing an open world Star Wars game. and an Avatar game, and people are like, all right, they're just going to forget about Division 2. And they're like, no. We're still, this is still in our pipeline for right now until these other games drop. So please don't leave us. The first thing that came to mind was like a survival type, like, you know how Breath of the Wild did with one of their DLCs where you just start from scratch, but they technically did that. If we're going by the exact verbiage of the article, right? New to the series, they technically did that in the DLC for Division 1, where you pretty much, it was like a harsh winter storm coming through, and you had to pretty much stock yourself with gear and supplies to keep you warm. And it's pretty much like a pseudo survival mode for that. So they've technically done an iteration of it. Then the next thing came up, and I know this is a hot button topic, and I know it's not a new mode. Yep. 100%. That was the next. I know it's new to that series, but it's not a new mode. No. I would probably put money on it if I were a betting man, but I'm hoping it's not. I hope it's something different, like maybe like a loot roll type game where it's like, hey, you play this game mode where all your loot's randomized and you have to fight fight someone out to get to, like, incorporate elements of the battle royale without it being a battle royale. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like with battle royale, I think we're in a place where it is so saturated, and trying to get into that place right now is not smart. Do something, be innovative to, create a new game mode, make something that is going to make Division stand out, because like we saw with Battlefield 5, they tried to do a battle royale and no one's playing it. No one's playing Warzone, or they're playing Fortnite, or I can't even think of another.
Apex.
Apex, there you go. Apex, like those are the top 3, and people are not going to, like, Division 2 has a loyal following for sure.
Yep.
But people are not going to go, oh, Division 2's got a battle royale. Let me stop playing Warzone to go play Division 2. Like, no one's going to do that because they're in that BR already. They've already put a ton of time in it. They're not just going to up and leave it. Maybe for the Division 2 players, like, that's something exciting, but I don't think it's something that's going to bring in a new audience in droves. No. It might bring in, maybe a few thousand, but I don't think they're just going to be looky-loos. They're not going to spend time in the actual game long term.
Right. And see, that's always the cop-out for loot-based games, right? It's like, oh, Battle Royale would be perfect because Battle Royales are all based on loot, and you can just pick up and go. And yes, from a gameplay perspective, Division 2 with the tacticalness of it would be great. However, if you do a Battle Royale, like you said, make it different. Like, if you remember, Dying Light technically had a battle royale, but it was like get the plague out. Like, it was pretty much like almost like a PvE type thing, where it's like, oh, the zombies are plagued, but this one has a cure, so you have to get the cure and extract it out. And with Dark Zone, that's the whole thing, like get the loot and get extracted out. If you were to do something like, hey, there's this contagion. Let me find my words here. Extract this, or like eradicate this, or whatever, and like make that into a battle royale, like be the first one to like get the extraction, and like have the wall be like contagion mist, like that's going to infect you. Just having like its own spin on it would be sufficeable. But again, I want something new. I don't want just a battle royale reskin, because I know they've pretty much put their roadmap on hold. We'll get to it later in the show. With Fallout 76, when they did their whole like Wastelanders, like introducing NPCs and that whole spiel about their roadmap, they also were going to do a battle royale, and we're all like, why? This game
doesn't function like that. Like,
no, exactly. So, but we'll see. They didn't say when in 2021 to expect it. I would assume like summer or fall.
Yeah,
but we'll just have to keep posted.
Yeah, I'm hoping for something awesome. Murdoch says, I've never played the Division. The Division is really interesting, especially if you got a group of people to play with. Like, you can play it single player ish.
Yeah.
But it makes it a lot easier when you've got a group of people to go in and actually, work with you. because
It's like Destiny, you know. There are
yeah,
some like the story mode or whatnot. You can do solo. Some of it, as you get into the higher level stuff, you probably going to need an ally, at least one, but
yep,
it's sufficeable. But there are other modes that will require you to join up with other players.
yep, definitely. So if you're interested in anybody, Derek plays right now. All right, he wants to play. I'm
Yeah.
curious about it. You know what else I'm curious about? What is Xbox
Yes.
up to? What is
Yeah.
Xbox up to? Xbox Series X/X and Xbox One are getting an upgraded browser that can play Google Stadia. Now,
Yeah.
that's interesting that Stadia is trying to weasel its way in on a
Yeah.
console. I wonder if it will perform like I've tried Stadia.
Mhm.
Did not like it because it's not that good in my opinion.
Right.
Travis has tried it and said that he liked it and that it worked really well. For me, like I've got really good internet, but for me, it did not do well. It lagged.
Right.
Even like I didn't even try. I tried like I tried the Telus project and
Yeah.
it just did not work. And then I tried Destiny too.
Yeah.
And it's like I cannot play something that lags that bad that is, you know, even if it's a story based thing, like I shouldn't have to like time my movements to the lag. You know what I mean?
Right. Right.
So I'm curious to see like how it will work on the browser and everything. I feel like Stadia is s- it's sick and it's in its death throes right now. Like I feel like
Yeah.
it's, you know, Google will cut the cord within the year. I can feel it.
Well, yeah, and I think this is their last gasp for sure because I'm looking at the article right here. It's like it'll come with the Microsoft Edge Chromium powered update for the browser, and it's going to be able to stream cloud-based services like Stadia and also Amazon Luna. I forget if that's out now. I think it is, or if it's coming out, but it'll be able to power that as well. And they're also talking about possibly because if you remember, their Game Pass is on PC, of course, their console and cloud right now that you could play on your mobile device. And they said if this works, because it's right now it's in like a testing phase right now. Like I forget if it's like an alpha or beta, but it's in a testing phase for the browser update right now. So if this works out like they want to, they could also think about adding their own like Game Pass cloud for the cloud service on there as well.
Yeah. I'm curious to see where it goes.
Yeah.
I know how Google is on a lot of things. Like if they don't
Yeah.
see a huge return on investment, they cut the cord pretty fast.
Yep.
So
Yep.
if this doesn't work, I think this will be the nail in the coffin that we've all been waiting.
Expecting.
Yeah, waiting for. Something that I have been waiting for, Derek, is the
Mhm.
Dragon Ball Z Kakarot new DLC called Trunks, the Warrior of Hope. Announced releasing in early summer, will focus on Trunks' apocalyptic future. Now, I'm excited about this because
Yeah.
we get Trunks like in the future Trunks in the regular story and everything. I
Mhm.
love Dragon Ball Z Kakarot. It's a great
Yep.
game. If you're a Dragon Ball Z fan and you've not played it, highly suggest it. It's got really cool RPG elements. It's pretty deep. I still didn't figure out the whole like the Z community thing. Never figured
Yeah.
all of that out. But yeah, I digress. I'm looking forward to this because the Trunk story, like they did a movie where you actually got to meet
Yeah.
Gohan and you got to see Trunks in that future and everything and him come back and fight the androids and all this kind of stuff. It was really
Mhm.
interesting and getting to do this I think is going to be a lot of fun. I'm
Yeah.
curious to see like how they're going to do it, like the storytelling and everything.
Yeah.
I was figuring that they would still continue on with like the Dragon Ball Super stuff with their
Mhm.
DLC, not hop into this. I was very
Right.
surprised with it.
Me too. And and to touch on it too, like like we were talking about off air. I had just finished Dragon Ball Z the other day, and the last thing I watched was it's a movie, but it's considered a TV special. It's called The History of Trunks, which
Mhm.
talks about the alternate timeline where Goku didn't survive the heart virus, and they have to grow up in a world where it's just basically terrorized by Android 17 and 18, and then Trunks
Mhm.
becomes like the hero, of that timeline. It's interesting to adapt that, because I feel like especially when you saw them bring back Future Trunks in for an arc of Super,
Yep.
that people like are like there's a fan base for Trunks himself. So I think that's catering to that. But you know, you kind of touched on something. Do you think, I know it's called Dragon Ball Z, right? Yeah, like it's not Dragon Ball, not Dragon Ball GT, Dragon Ball Super, but I know they integrate some of it all. I know GT is pretty much like the redheaded stepchild, like you just kind of bring
Yeah.
it out when you want something good to present every now and then.
Yeah.
They mainly use like characters from the Shadow Dragon and Baby Saga. That's pretty much it.
Mhm.
I know Super. I know, like after watching Super, like fans were not happy with it. You know, like overall, like they loved the last arc of it. And there's definitely plenty of characters to pull from that.
Yeah.
But do you think like the current Dragon Ball games, like I know Super Fighters is now adding like Super Saiyan 4 or Gogeta, and they added some super characters, but not a lot. Do you
Yeah.
think like the current like going back to Z is getting like overdone? And because I'm not saying they should pull from everything, but at least
Mhm.
more from Super, because while Super is not better than Z overall, it still has a lot of solid, you know, and a lot of good things with it. So I'm wondering why they're not pulling more from that.
I think that it comes down to nostalgia. People are, you know, familiar with it. Not everybody has watched Super. I'm
Yeah.
at the Tournament of Power and I still haven't finished it.
Oh, fair.
Like I think it's just because it is recognizable. It is Trunks, you know, like they could have
Mhm.
done you know, the arc with, you know, future Trunks from Super, which would have been
Yeah.
awesome. With what was that guy's name?
Goku Black.
Yeah, Goku Black and everything. That would have been really cool to see that, since they were already going with that super arc. So I think it's just a nostalgia thing, and it, you know, Dragon Ball Z does sell well,
Yeah.
and if the fans are hyped on Dragon Ball Z and will continue to buy pretty much the same story over and over, just packaged
Yeah.
and has different gameplay, then yeah, they're going to keep buying it. I'm curious to see if this is the last DLC for the game.
Yeah, I don't
'Cause
remember what they said. I know they said it's the third DLC, but they didn't specify that was the last one.
yeah, and I'm hoping that, you know, we continue to get more from this game because like I said, I do like the fighting mechanics, I like the storytelling, the RPG elements. Like I think the overall presentation of this game is one of the more solid ones. Like it's not Budokai 1, you know, or
Right.
Budokai 2, but like it has a lot of that like storytelling elements and everything that I loved from those past games. Um,
Hmm.
with, you know, more the free roaming and all of that that we would get in like Budokai 3. So like I like Kakarot. I'm just curious
Yeah.
to see where they're going to go. I would love to see some more of the movie side of things. Like I know you're watching right
Yeah.
now movies and everything, but I would love to see, you know, Tree of Might or Garlic Jr.
Yes.
or you know,
Cooler.
because I love Cooler. Cooler's my favorite like villain out of all of them. That fifth transformation is just and then they've got
Oh yeah.
that awesome song that like can't
Hmm.
remember who sings it, but you know what I'm talking about.
Oh yeah,
Everybody
I
loves
know.
it. You know what I'm talking
So
about. So I would love to see that and like more of those brought in because like we don't get as much of that in this game. Like you don't get Brawly. I don't think
mm-mm.
personally. I don't like you don't have to bring him in. Like I think he's overdone.
From the recent movie, right? Like the rebooted version of Broly, that's fine. But
I haven't
Broly
watched
from
it.
the original, like Bio Broly, bring him in. No, I'm kidding. I'm joking. I hate that movie. I hate that movie with a passion.
Yeah. So, you know, like them doing this, it kind of tells me they might hit more of the movies moving
Yeah.
forward before they might make another like Dragon Ball Z Kakarot like in this vein
Right.
with Super. Like I would love that.
Yeah.
You know, I would love that and, you know, go from there and maybe even bring in some GT or, you know,
Right.
we don't know, but I'm excited for it. Like when they announced it, I'm like, okay, awesome. I'm down for it.
Yeah.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
Gives
Let's
you a reason to
do
go back to that game.
it. Yeah, it does. Another game that is very popular, that is loved by
Mhm.
millions, Animal Crossing New Horizons has announced a Build a Bear line. Amy was actually talking about this on our journey back home yesterday, and she was like, "They've got Build-A-Bear," and I I've never been a Build-A-Bear person, so I'm curious to see how they're going to do everything, um, and like what characters and what you can. Okay, Build-A-Bear is like,
Oh, you know Isabel is going to be up there for sure.
oh yeah, they should totally make Tom Nook as one of the characters.
Oh yeah, I'm about to say Isabel and Tom Nook are gonna, if they're not on there, people I think will riot from the get go. So
Yep.
I know my sister used to do Build-A-Bear when she was younger, and I know you could customize, like it wasn't like extensive customization, but you know you could add a heart to it. You could add like accessories, like like a jacket, a hat, whatnot. So it's gonna be interesting to see, and it's crazy, right? Because this game has a lot of DIY recipes, like build your own type of thing. So I wonder how extensive they're gonna. What it'd be nice to add their own twist into that for the Build-A-Bear like workaround.
Yeah, and I know that this is not the first time that they've done a like license deal. They did a Mandalorian tie-in with Build-A-Bear.
I forgot about that.
Allie got a Grogu or Baby Yoda, whichever one you want to call it.
Nice.
One. So like that's something that they're definitely doing. And we said I had a Build-A-Bear zebra made for me, but they're expensive.
Yeah,
I know there is a Tom Nook and an Isabel. Not sure about the others. So I'm just curious. They said in the official announcement, get ready to create and customize with our new Animal Crossing New Horizons collection. Signing up for exclusive updates is the best way to get the island's news. We'll send you email announcements when our Animal Crossing New Horizons collection is available. So I know if you're an Animal Crossing fan, I think you're gonna be stoked and excited. I'm curious to see what they actually look like. I feel like they should have had some visual representation instead of just like, here's a picture of the logo in the game and it's coming to Build-A-Bear.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that game is so widely popular and successful now that that's all you pretty much have to do, right? Like, I don't know, I forget if the article says when it's actually going to be a thing or when it's dropping, but if it's not right away, they have time to work that out, and that way they can build up and say, all right, here's what you can do,
Yeah, it doesn't give any kind of date as of now. So I'm curious to see, where it goes and what they're going to actually do from it. But only time will tell. But time keeps ticking on. EA Sports college football game seemingly won't launch until July 2023. And we kind of talked about this and, where we were like, hopefully it will not come out this summer, because I felt like that would be super, super rushed. We discussed that on our few weeks ago.
So I think it was second or third episode.
Yeah,
is when this story initially broke.
I think that gives them enough time to make it its own thing, to work out any issues with licensing or anything that might be potentially gum up the works or anything. Like they're not rushing to just get it out there and get money from it, which says a lot about EA. In my opinion.
Yeah. Well, and they know that they want to do this right because it was their cash cow back in the heyday. So they want to make sure they want to keep that gravy train rolling and to make sure it doesn't stop from where it left off of. So they know they have to do this right. And I know we've discussed it, in previous shows, but there are people in my work that'll come in, like they'll say, oh, it's coming out this year. I'm like, you hope. I'll say you wish it was coming out this year. It's nowhere near, because people forget, like they just think like video games can just pop out like that. No, making a video game is hard and very intricate, and especially when you're working with a licensed property, there's a lot of politics involved. Because they just got the rights back 6 months ago. People forget that. Like, it's not like they just got this 2 years ago. They got this 6 months ago, and they just made it official 2 months ago. Like, this is not just, it's not just, the news of it happening and the possibilities are happening really fast just to start generating hype and to get investors behind them. But this is not going to be a steady process. And I have even been on records like, even if it's next year, it's debatable. That's the best case scenario. Is next year, but I think them giving, because it always used to be July, right? So it's very odd that they put July. They could have just said 2023 and left it, but they said July of 2023, which is when the game always used to release. So I think it's nice that they put a date on it and they said, hey, we're going to quell expectations. We're not coming out this year, not coming out next year. Expect us in a few summers, which gives them plenty of time to work it out and figure out, how much microtransaction and loot box stuff they can add into the game. Hopefully not. I say that in jest. But yeah, take your time, because a delayed game is great. A rush game is bad.
Yeah, exactly. And I just have a statement off of what you just said. You mean to tell me that since they stopped making this game back in 2014, that they didn't have a game ready every year to just launch when it magically happened? Like when everything just fell together, that they just couldn't just launch a game. They were just waiting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, it's a crazy concept.
I don't believe you. I'm sure they did not use their talent to produce other games. I know.
I'll say they stopped production on everything. They said, we're not making games until we get NCAA again. That's it.
Yep. It's the only way. This is the way. This is the way.
Exactly.
A news story that has been floated around for a while, and we've discussed it before. Microsoft Bethesda being bought by Microsoft. The deal is finally official. 20 new games on Game Pass now, which include Dishonored Definitive Edition, Dishonored 2, Doom OG, Doom 2, Doom 3, Doom Eternal, Fallout New Vegas, Fallout 4, Fallout 76, Prey, Rage 2, Elder Scrolls Morrowind, Elder Scrolls Oblivion, Elder Scrolls Skyrim Special Edition, Elder Scrolls Online, Evil Within, Wolfenstein The New Order, Wolfenstein Old Blood, Wolfenstein Young Blood. Those are a bunch of games, guys.
Yeah.
The one, this is what I'm going to point out here. Fallout 3 is not on this list.
Yeah, there's several glaring omissions. Fallout 3, Doom 2016, Wolfenstein 2, and Evil Within 2, and all but I don't know about Fallout 3. I know Wolfenstein 2 and oh gosh, what was the other one? Doom 2016 had been on Game Pass already, so I guess they have to rework those deals to get them back on there, because yeah, I don't think Evil Within 2 was ever on Game Pass, but it's strange that there are some glaring omissions on there out of all these. Like, obviously, it can never be a perfect thing. It's like, hey, we just acquired this new studio. Let's put every game they've ever created on there. Obviously, that can't always work to expectations, but there are some head scratchers on there for sure.
Yeah, what I'm excited though, Morrowind, Oblivion, Skyrim, of course, and then Online are on there. So you've got a ton of the Skyrim stuff, or the Elder Scrolls. Everybody just calls it Skyrim these days, but it's not. It's Elder Scrolls. That's exciting for sure.
Those three games will justify Game Pass subscription by himself.
Oh yeah, definitely. The other thing that's still interesting, Phil Spencer's being really coy about future exclusivity of like, will Bethesda games just be on Xbox, or will he share? I think it's like we've talked about before, the Mojang, like Microsoft owns them, but Mojang like still puts all of its stuff on everything. Yeah. So I think we'll definitely see that. Projects from new studios, Roundhouse Studios and Alpha Dog Games are coming, and we'll have summer event to include more Bethesda news. I know they put out like a little trailer, "We're Bethesda Games" or whatever this past week, which was pretty cool.
Yeah. And, it was a nice thing because, everyone was speculating, there's going to be an event on Thursday. And all it was just basically a roundtable bringing all the people who work at Bethesda in, at least the big heads from each of the studios that are in Bethesda's umbrella. And it's like, hey, welcome to Game Pass. Welcome to Xbox family. We're, as a reward, as pretty much like a welcoming gift, we're putting these games on Game Pass. And, people were expecting announcements, and they shut that down like the day before. It's like, hey, these are just all we're going to do is talk about old games or current games out there that are going to be on Game Pass. That is it. We are not doing new announcements.
Yeah.
We're not doing anything. But the thing, and I didn't know this until I found an article stating this, that before the Microsoft acquisition, they had actually bought up, and I meant to check the history before we started the show, but the two studios that you had talked about, they seem like really small or startup studios. So it's funny that didn't gain any traction until now. They bought them right before Microsoft bought Bethesda. So want to see what those. I wonder if they're going to be more like smaller, like indie studios, because I know Bethesda, out of all their games, they really don't have like an indie like library. So I wonder if they brought these two on to like start an indie library for them. That'd be interesting. The thing that I want to touch on the most will be, Phil Spencer being coy, because he didn't say yay or nay to the burning questions, because everyone you can assume like the two new studios that are working on games, you can assume that they'll probably be exclusive, right?
Yeah.
In some capacity. Now he did say that, he said ad nauseum since they bought or since they put in the acquisition purchase for Bethesda back in August, that, hey, Ghostwire Tokyo and Deathloop have PS5 exclusivity for a time being. We're going to honor that, but everything else we can't speculate on. And it's really weird on some of the verbiage, right? Because of course you expect like whatever Arcane's working on after Deathloop, or whatever id Software is working on, is going to be maybe have some timed exclusivity. But people want to know, hey, is Elder Scrolls 6, is Starfield, is Fallout 5 going to be Xbox exclusive, or they're going to come to multi-platform? He didn't address that. But the only inkling he gave, and I kind of want to expound upon this with you here in just a minute, he said that Game Pass holder, like PlayStation owners who don't have Game Pass, won't be able to access future titles under Bethesda. So basically it's a roundabout way of saying, hey, if you don't own Game Pass whatever you game on, if you don't own Game Pass, you may not have access to certain titles. And my thing is like, I know there was this rumor years ago, right? I think it was the last E3 we covered, that there was rumored that Microsoft was helping Nintendo with their online functionality, and then there was speculation because they brought Cuphead and Ori on there, and there was speculations like, hey, Game Pass could be put on Switch, and that ended up never happening, at least for the time being. Who knows if they'll ever revisit that? I think it just came down to having enough games on Nintendo to justify putting Game Pass on there, right? Mm-hmm. But do you think Microsoft would ever consider putting Game Pass on other platforms like PlayStation?
Well, seeing how successful Game Pass has been and how successful doing like the cross share between Xbox games and PC and everything has really went well. Like when they first announced it, I was like, this is the dumbest thing that I've ever heard of. Yeah. But it is. Like I've enjoyed it because I've had my Xbox, and I was playing Outer Worlds. There you go. And I would jump from Xbox to play to my PC and everything. So I think because they don't care where you play, like they make the games, they make money off of games, not the consoles. So I think we see. I feel weird saying this. I feel like we will see them come on to the other platforms, and like they're not concerned about selling consoles. They're concerned about having people play their games. And and I know a lot of peers talked about this a few months ago. Like Game Pass is the best bang for your buck. Like people don't have a lot of money to just buy video games these days. No. And with video game prices going up to 70 and all of that, like this is like so amazing for the consumer, because you not only get games that that are old and everything that's owned by Microsoft is day in day on Game Pass. Like,
especially if it's especially if it's exclusive, right? Like I know they're still trying to work out deals with like third-party publishers to have their games on date, and I know third-party publishers probably, at least for the current state of gaming, probably won't dive into that idea for a
No.
long time. But at least if you're exclusive to under Xbox's umbrella, you're gonna be on day one on Game Pass, right?
Yeah.
And you saying that kind of brought this to my mind too. Game Pass is pretty much the digital version of GameFly now. Like you
Yep.
can play, because I know all throughout college when we were going there, you were an advocate for GameFly,
Oh,
and
yeah.
Game Pass is that same thing. Where especially if you're hesitant about a game or just don't have the money to drop it, it's like, hey, have the subscription service, like you said, and you can play the game. And it's not a demo, it's not a trial run, it's a whole game. The only thing that stops you is if your subscription runs out, or they
Yep.
take it off Game Pass.
Yeah. And we saw with EA, they have like their EA Origin or EA Play on Xbox. It's the same thing. So,
Yeah.
And now Game Pass, like with EA Play, like you get access to those and everything. EA Play's a lot more limited than Origin on the PC and everything, but like this is definitely a very viable way of moving forward with this
Yeah.
subscription thing. And it's like, okay, I can't buy a $60 game, but I can spend $14
Yeah.
every month. Like I can spend $14 and be able to play all of these games where it might be, okay, I've got to save up $60. So
hmm
that's months of me saving up $60 because like everybody's financial situation is different. So someone saving up for $60 might take them 3 months to just have that extra cash flow
Yeah.
to buy a game. Or you have a service like this where it is $14. I
Yeah.
can handle $14
Yeah.
because you might only be able to put $15 towards something a
Yeah.
month, and you get access to all of these games. That is a huge, huge thing for the consumer.
And that's another thing too, right? It's like $60 or $70 will get you one game. $15 a month gets you hundreds of games. So
Yeah. And I know like PlayStation has tried it with like PlayStation Now and everything, their subscriptions service and everything, but it is not day and day. Like it's older games, stuff that's been out 6 months plus, to a year or even more, so it's like PlayStation, like they sell consoles really well and
Yep.
people go out and buy their games. Like they're not
Yep.
really concerned about it. But I think with Xbox Game Pass coming to other consoles, it's going to change a lot of
Yeah.
things for sure.
Yeah. And to touch on two more things too, right? One, this is not me saying that Phil Spencer is hinting at Game Pass on other consoles. I think he wants that in the cards, but he's not wanting. He's basically trying to, without definitively saying yes or no right now, trying to lay a roadmap out for his plans for what this is going to entail to try and he's answering it without not answering the exclusivity thing, right? By saying it's like, hey, look, if you don't have Game Pass, if you play on a console that doesn't have Game Pass, you may not get access to these games. But he's leaving the door open for the possibility to do that. It just depends on, and we've already talked about too, how Sony doesn't always like to play ball all the time with other services or other people. So we'll see how that ends up playing out. The other thing is, like you say, Xbox doesn't care where their games are played as long as they make the money off of them. 100% correct, because like we've talked about, this is MLB The Show's first year on Xbox. It's not going to be PlayStation exclusive. And they're still going to leave because, I don't know. I've never played Minecraft. Don't know if I'll ever play Minecraft. But I don't know if it has Xbox Game Studios. Like if you boot up the Switch or PlayStation version, does it have Xbox Studios logo in the intro section? But they're leaving the PlayStation Studios watermark on the Xbox version of Microsoft. It's like, look, they'll get credit. These are who made it. We don't care that they're PlayStation's own studio. We're making money on our console version for it.
Yeah. And I think good marketers, smart business people, like they've got to understand it's like you cannot just try to like, okay, it's got to be my brand on everything. I've got to be like, you have to be smart and work with other people to make more money. Like that's the only way that it works,
You can still own mindshare without putting a corner, like pretty much owning the market on mindshare. You know what I mean? If there's a better way to phrase that. But in other words, you don't have to put your eggs in one basket. You can spread your eggs around and still have that mindshare or the cornerstone on that market.
Yeah, I 100% agree. Murdoch says they need a quick turnaround on investment, especially since they just bought Bethesda. And I think,
Yeah.
them bringing the games to Game Pass, that's huge because a lot of those games are games that people love playing or have wanted to play, like, with like Fallout New Vegas. I never played Fallout New Vegas, so it might be something that I want to try out and test out, like having that available. Or Morrowind. I never got to play Morrowind, or I never got to finish Oblivion, so now I can just jump on Game Pass and try those out. It works
Right.
for Netflix and other streaming services. Yeah, like they don't limit other than Nintendo Switch. You can't get Netflix on there. Like, but they're
Yeah.
seeing these streaming services as like they're available on everything. Like you cannot just focus on being proprietary. Like I think PlayStation and Nintendo are the only ones I think that can, because I think last generation Microsoft saw that, hey, we are being left in the dust right now.
Yeah.
We had a really bad start. We've got to make some changes, and that's when we saw backwards compatibility, and that's when we saw Game Pass. And I think it's been a very, very wise business decision. So I think it's going to be huge moving forward for sure.
And Murdoch just said Microsoft is just a replicator, and maybe for once they are this time an innovator. I'd agree with that. Like when they made like we've all been talking about this whole segment, right? The moment they put out Game Pass, like we were all speculating, is like, all right, this is Microsoft's last gasp just to stay relevant, and it's turned a profit for them. Like it's the whole thing of Sony. When they decided to take out like the backwards compatibility for their system. For the PS3, it's like, hey, look, this is the cost of this is eating into our pocket. We need to turn this around fast. And it's the same thing with the whole Red Ring of Death issue. For 360, they could have not addressed this and then pretty much been dead, and we wouldn't know them to be the Microsoft that they are now. But they took a risk and it paid off for them. So I think this has definitely revived them and made them, like, because Nintendo has their thing, Sony has their thing. Microsoft, like Murdoch stated, they've always been trying to like copy one or the other or both. They've never been an originator or something. Well, now they are. They have their own mind share. People think of different things when they think of Nintendo's PlayStation, and now they have Xbox for that too.
See, I'm gonna make one correction for you real quick.
Okay.
They are the originator of playing online, because Xbox Live was
you're right.
The big thing, and everybody else tried to replicate that. I remember like Sony tried to do it with the PlayStation 2. It was not good, but the online, that's why even Nintendo had asked Microsoft to help them with like, their gaming online. So like a lot of things they have replicated, but that is one thing that they've definitely were the forefront of that. So I'm curious to see where it goes. I'm excited that the Bethesda deal has finally, like we heard it back in the late last year that they were buying them. It's all, signed on the dotted line. Now they're theirs. And I'm just curious to see moving forward what is going to happen. I think probably around E3 we might hear more news of like where things are going to come to and everything.
And and they like we said, the last thing that you pointed out in this topic, right? They have more news because everyone's expecting them to have like some big blowout news event for yesterday's event. They said no, but it's coming, and they said around summertime, which is also around E3. So you have to imagine that this is going to be around. Obviously, they can still do their own thing, but yeah, E3 seems like the target market. But I'm excited to hear more from what's going to be coming from Bethesda, because it also ties into a thing that I posted late last week, early this week, that it just stated Microsoft has unannounced games for this year. So I'm wondering if Bethesda is part of those plans.
It could definitely be, because now it's not just the studios that we've known as Microsoft. It is, Bethesda. And I just had this thought, if they literally just merged both conferences, Bethesda and Microsoft, that's going to be so long. But thankfully, Microsoft is really good of cutting out fluff. So all that fluff that
they're not going to have stupid metal concerts in the middle of it.
Yep. So that's something. Praise be to Shu. That has been changed, because those Bethesda conferences could take a long time. Guys,
Yeah.
that is the major big news right now. We're going to move into our quick hits with Derek. Take it away, Derek.
Yep. All right, so these are going to be actual quick hits this time, I promise. Outer Worlds final DLC, Murder on Eridanos, or however you pronounce it. It's going to come out March 17th. That's this upcoming Wednesday. It's going to be the final DLC for Outer Worlds. It's going to be a murder mystery event for the story. Also with the DLC trend, we're looking at Immortals Phoenix Rising Myths of the Eastern Realm is out March 25th. That is 2 weeks from today. That is the new expansion. It's going to bring in like a new new world, new gods, new heroes to play as. So it's going to be a new mythology is going to come in. So it's going to be interesting for that. This is, I think, their second out of the 3 DLC they have planned. Continuing with the DLC, Borderlands 3 Director's Cut DLC delayed until April 8th. It was actually supposed to come out the 18th of this month, but due to the ice storms in Texas, they couldn't get to their studio because everything was shut down. So they had, even working from home, because a lot of people lost power, so they had to delay it till April 8th. This is going to be the final DLC for Borderlands 3. And the last DLC thing for this, Doom Eternal, The Ancient Gods Part 2 is going to come out March 15th. That is literally just 3 days away. That is this upcoming Monday. You get to finish that story of what started in Part 1 from a few months ago. Next, and this is the one I want to expound a little bit with you, Zach. It's like a mini article. Overwatch quietly rolls out Series X and S enhancements, but not for PS5. I didn't read all into, I'm sure it's like performance and lighting and whatnot, the typical run-of-the-mill like next-gen improvement type thing. But it's weird that it's on Xbox first and not PlayStation. They didn't necessarily say that PS5 is ruled out, but it's not coming anytime soon. I wonder if this is like something hinting at maybe coming to Game Pass, and that's why they're dropping on the drop the enhancements now. I don't know.
My initial thought is that PS5 might be a little bit more difficult to work with, and
probably
with Xbox, like they are a Microsoft company, there's probably better infrastructure there to like just move in upgrades and everything. So I think it's more of a development thing than it necessarily is like a hint at it's coming to Game Pass, because we both know Activision is all about that money, so they ain't about the Game Pass. I think it's more of a development thing than it is like a showing of a move that's fixing to happen with Overwatch or Activision Blizzard as a whole with their game development.
I got you. Yeah, I don't think anything major is coming of it. Like I said, because people were speculating, it's like, oh, maybe they'll have some type of exclusivity for Overwatch 2. It's not that serious, guys. Like, it's just going to be. I think I'm in agreement with you about the development thing, but I wouldn't be surprised if it also were like, hey, next month is coming to Game Pass or whatever. We'll see. But I'm kind of with you on that. I don't see any major implications coming from that.
Yeah,
and the last one is
people are
go
still
ahead. I'm
buying.
sorry.
People are still buying Overwatch, so I don't think they're going to like negate making money by putting it on Game Pass. That's just
exactly. And the last one is more of a PSA. And I had posted this a couple days ago, and I had a discussion with Davis Hart about this. We only have a few weeks left to purchase Super Mario 3D World, Super Mario 3D All-Stars before it's gone. Now, if you guys remember, they had their whole Mario 35th anniversary blowout back at halfway to the back half of last year. And in this, they announced the 3D All-Star package that includes Mario 64, Super Mario Sunshine, and Super Mario Galaxy 1. And they made this weird Nintendo decision, right, to basically say, hey, because their fiscal year ends after this month. After March 31st, you can no longer buy it. Now, that's not saying that if you already own it, that you still can't play it. You can still play it, but if you don't buy it by April 1st, you can't buy it on the eShop, and I'm sure retail-wise, they will still have it in store, but they're not going to take it off the shelves April 1st. They're going to sell through their stock, but they're not going to get any more after March 31st. So you have just a couple weeks left, guys. If you want to take part in this great package for the game that Nintendo did, get it now.
Yeah, this decision is dumb. Like I know
Yeah,
it's
no,
it's a marketing ploy. That's literally all it is to try to force people to buy it.
yeah,
And Murdoch had a question: can you download it? It's still like download it still like if you purchased it. Yeah, I'm sure it'll be there. Like if you
yeah,
purchased it and you just need to re-download it, I think it will be there. But I think it's just a marketing ploy, and I think it's
yeah.
kind of dumb to be 100% honest.
Yeah, and it's again, it works like any digital game, right? Like if you own it and you still have you still remember your account login information, you can still download it whenever if you delete it off there. It's just if you let time slip by and you didn't buy it and you wake up on April 1st hoping to still download it, you're going to be out of luck.
Yeah, like I know there have been things that have been taken off of the like Microsoft or PlayStation or whatever
Mhm.
store, and like PT, for example, it's not on there. You can't download it anymore.
Right.
So anyone that had PT had to literally keep it on their PlayStation
Yeah.
so they could continue to play it. I don't think this is going to be the same sort of
No.
case here. That like if you bought it, I bought it was a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles game that was on
Mhm.
PlayStation. It's no longer on the store anymore. Not really sure why, but I can still download it if I did want to play that
Right.
game. So it's kind of that instead of like a PT situation for this
Right.
game.
So
So
yeah, for people questioning it, it's like you'll get to play if you own it and just deleted it. You'll still, as long as you still have the same account, you'll own it, and they're not going to shut off like physical copies. They're not going to shut you off from playing it at all. It's just from the base point of purchasing that game. After come April 1st, you're not going to be able to do it anymore.
yeah.
Hopefully Nintendo rectifies that. It's like one of those like Disney Vault things. You remember the Disney Vault commercials
Oh
like,
yeah.
"Oh, get it now because once it's in the vault it never comes back." And then like 5 years later, "It's back, guys."
Yeah. I think it's
So,
just it's just that marketing ploy, just like Disney way
yeah.
back in the day. But now we got Disney
Right.
Plus, guys. So there you
Yeah.
go. There you go. Well, we hope that you enjoyed this episode. If you did, make sure to let us know down in the comments below. What are you most excited from all the news that we gave you? Are you excited about all the Bethesda games coming to Game Pass? Are you going to build you an Animal Crossing bear that's not a bear, but might be a dog or a raccoon? Who knows? Build a bear, build it beautiful.
Yes.
You can also watch us if you're watching us over on youtube.com/nerdcave network right now. If you're watching this on the replay, you can watch this live and check us out over on twitch.tv/nerdcave network. Pretty easy. This is the same thing, same name, just Twitch in front of it instead of YouTube. And you can check out our little segments throughout the week of us talking about these things over on our TikTok and over
Hmm.
on our YouTube channel as well, guys. We hope that you have had a fantastic time with us today. We've definitely enjoyed you spending time with us, and we're going to definitely see you on the next one. Derek, I enjoyed it, man. Always a good show
Yeah.
with you, buddy.
Always, if I say always fun to, like I keep saying, it's my favorite part of the week now. So always glad to come out here and talk some nerdy news with you, man.
Yeah, same here. Guys, we love you. We hope that you have a blessed rest of the week. We'll see you on the next time. This has been Zach.
And Derek.
Bye.